Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm Taylor, Dr. Taylor Burrows. I'm a retired mental health counselor, marriage and family therapist, and I now work as an online coach, consultant, and matchmaker. So I talk about relationships a lot. And one of the questions that I get often is actually about age difference and whether it's different for men or for women if they're older. And it is. So let me explain to you why and how today. If the man is older and the woman is younger, this actually makes sense. It makes biological evolutionary sense. So that's okay. It's okay to be older as a man. I don't know where people get deterred by this older man, father figure type for a woman. I think because women and men have been trying to be the same for a while now, but we do have similarities, but it doesn't make us the same. And so, what you need to look out for the age difference between an older man and a younger woman is you want to have that maturity. You want to make sure that there's autonomy there, that there isn't any kind of misuse of power or any kind of distorted or maybe like a little bit dysfunctional sexual desires or fetishism there. There's going to be sexual attraction, there's going to be lust, but you want to make sure that they're both healthy, mature, and secure individuals joining in a healthy relationship. So, like my parents, they were 35 years apart. My dad was much older and they met when my mother was only 19. So, if I were consulting them, I would definitely advise against it, but it worked out for the most part for them and everything is okay. But for you, I want you to make sure that you don't go that route. Some of the things that my mother had to go through, which was the death of her spouse at a pretty young age, and she's never been the same since. She's not remarried. I don't think she's not even dated since. So it's been kind of an isolated life for her for the past almost 20 years. And I think she's like 72, 73 now. So she's got a bit of a while to go still, and that's a long time to be alone and to be really sad and missing the love of your life. Very sweet, but ultimately he was also sick towards the end of his life. So that's a lot to bear as a young wife. And for me, having an older father, that was not all great. There were definitely some downsides to that. So these are the kind of things you need to consider if you're a lot older. So the formula I suggest you use is half your age plus 7. Now I didn't come up with this. If you know who came up with this, do put the name in the comments below so that I can credit them. But it's a nice, simple equation to refer to when I'm dealing with a client who is older and wants to look at a younger woman. Now, usually that's because he still wants children. Maybe he's never had children. Maybe he has, but he wants the option of having more, and that's totally fine. And it's appropriate to have a younger wife or girlfriend or partner or whatever. So if you're 50, that makes the youngest you should go for 32. Up to 50, up to the same age. Now, obviously, you have to take the whole package to heart, right? Like you need to evaluate and vet this person based on their character, their temperament, your complementarity, your compatibility, your sexual polarity, your personalities, and your goals, right? So, if you don't want kids, maybe the 50-year-old is what you want. Maybe you have a really strong emotional and sexual connection and you vibe really well and your personalities blend and it's great. But if you want children, you have to, use your head and be logical and really consider what makes sense for you. It doesn't make sense to just pursue your feelings and your impulses just because you like someone if ultimately you want to have that type of partner. So for a younger woman, think about what does she bring to the table? Is there just too much distance between you two? Is she immature? Is she actually a high risk emotional investment because she's not really enthusiastic about you? And maybe she's kind of like keeping her options open or hedging her bets. Maybe she's not intellectually on par. Maybe that kind of stimulation is very important to you. So it depends on who you are, what would be better for you, but don't go any younger than that. And if it's the opposite, if it's the older woman and the younger man, That's usually a rule. There's a few exceptions where it can work, and I'll tell you why. But as a rule, you should not be dating younger men. Now, if you're only like 2 years apart, that's not such a big deal. So I don't really consider 2 years apart younger man. You're not a cougar if you're only 2 years older. But ultimately, that stereotypical younger man cougar dynamic is based on a lot of impulses, a lot of sexual fantasies, and perhaps even sexual repression or distortion. It could be based on, who knows, old wounds, trauma, sexual assault, some kind of awkward, maybe even creepy dynamic with his mother. And so, if that is the case, I mean, nothing's wrong with consenting adults having some kind of sexual fantasy, but keep it realistic and put some brackets on it. Like, this could be a healthy short term relationship. If anything, at a minimum, that's a compromise. That's fine. But it will keep you from finding something better. So remember, everything that you invest in, even for a short time, is an opportunity cost. And so if you can go into it fully aware and fully willing to take the risks involved, then more power to you. You're an adult, you have free will, it's up to you. But if you want to play the numbers properly, what is a high risk vetting scenario? Where is your return on investment, your ROI? Then you play smart and you think about what really makes sense and where your probabilities are going to be better played. And that's what vetting is really just calibrating according to those factors and understanding that you can have like love, you can have lust with, multiple people. I'm not saying at once, but just in general, like it's not just one person. So if they don't make sense, don't force it. Be very wise, be very grounded, and look at the whole picture. Make sure that they're the whole package. And if they're not, your trade-offs have to line up. And that's the only time that a younger man and an older woman makes sense, is if he also has significant trade-offs to make. And what that means is he's not really a top contender for people in his demographic, right? Like he is a top contender in your demographic as an older woman cougar, but he knows that, a woman otherwise of an equivalent level would not be going for him because he's got too much baggage. Maybe he has an addiction, maybe he has an illness, maybe he's been bankrupt, maybe he's got some personality difficulties, whatever the case may be. That's the only time it really has a higher probability of working as an older woman, younger man dynamic. He has his own trade-offs, so they equalize. Then that's great. Then I would say it has more chance of working out. But ultimately, all things being considered, it's better to just not emotionally invest in those types of relationships if you're an older woman. If you're an older man, there's nothing wrong with a younger woman. That's kind of how we're made biologically, right? But don't go too young, and for women, don't go too much older. Make sure that you think about these things first before you act on them. And remember that once you get embedded into it, it's a lot harder to deal with it on the other side and extricate yourself from it or deal with the fallouts of it. So think very hard and very wisely about what you should be doing and weigh that against all the factors, not just your heart, not just your feelings or your lust, but really, is it common sense? Does it logistically make sense? Do our priorities align? And is this going to have a good chance of working out, all things considered? So I hope that helps you answer that question. And if you have any questions, do ask in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, but don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you want to speak more one-to-one, I'm happy to talk with you on a free 15-minute discovery call. Just click the link below and request yours there. Great speaking with you. See you soon. Ciao.